Hi guys, what's up? It's your girl Charla from That Girl Cooks Healthy. Today I'm gonna show you how to make this Jamaican cocoa bread that's gluten-free and dairy-free, really simple to make and buttery. Let's get to the recipe. So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. First of all, before I let you know what the ingredients are, it is really important that you follow this recipe to the T if you want the results that I have in the video. Then it's super important that you follow this recipe using the ingredients that I have, especially the flour. Now the flour that I use is gluten-free. It's Capoto, so it's Italian gluten-free flour, and this gluten-free flour is really good for when you're making savory goods. So if you're making something like bread or pizza, I find that this particular gluten-free flour is above the rest. I've tried using my home blend, I've tried using other brands, and it just doesn't work. And this is the closest to a bread type texture that I'm really happy with, which is why I wanted to share this recipe with you guys. Obviously gluten-free goods are not going to be the same as conventional goods, but we have to work with what we've got, and the results for this is pretty good. So please use that flour blend. You're also going to need some soya, or some people call it soy protein isolate, and that is going to complement the flour in terms of helping with the texture. Some full fat coconut milk as well. I have an egg as well. I wanted to make this recipe vegan, but I haven't tested it vegan, so I am using an egg, and it really does help with the structure, especially with the type of flour that I'm using. You're also going to need some dairy-free butter, some dairy-free butter that is softened, and also some dairy-free butter that is melted, some instant yeast, a small amount of raw cane sugar, and some pink salt. So the first thing that we need to do is I have a baking tray here that I've lined, and I've also greased it with some olive oil. So you want to do that and then just put it to the side. So the next thing I'm going to do now with the coconut milk is I'm going to add the egg and also just the melted dairy-free butter, and I'm just going to mix that together, and then I'm just going to put it to the side. So now I'm going to add my dry ingredients. So I'm going to add the yeast, the raw cane sugar, pink salt, and the protein powder. So I'm going to add those ingredients, and then I'm just going to take a spoon and just mix it together to make sure that all of those ingredients are completely combined. Once I've mixed the dry ingredients together, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a well. So I'm just going to create a well in the center of the bowl, and then I'm going to show you what you need to do next. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour my wet ingredients into the center of the dry bowl, and then I'm going to get my hands and I'm going to knead to make a soft pliable dough. You can use a spoon if you want to. At some point you'll probably end up using your hands, but I do recommend just using your hands, just getting your hands dirty and just getting right in there to create that dough. So now that we've formed our dough, we're not done yet, so we need to add that soft butter to the dough, and we need to fold that in, and that's a really important part in terms of getting soft buttery bread. It's going to feel really weird, and you're going to be very tempted to add some flour, which I recommend you don't do, because you're not going to need any flour, and you do need the dough to be quite soft, believe it or not. It shouldn't be sticky, but it should definitely be to the point where you're able to pick it up without it feeling extremely sticky and sticking all over your hands. So just work through it. It's going to take a few minutes to incorporate that butter into the dough, and then I'm going to show you what you need to do next. So as you can see, I'm just touching the dough to make sure it's not sticky, and it isn't sticky, and it's just the texture that I need. So I'm just going to move that bowl and just put it out of the way now. So I have another bowl now, and that bowl has been lightly greased with some oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that dough that I formed earlier, and I'm just going to put it in this lightly greased bowl. And I'm also going to get some saran, or some people call it cling film, and just completely cover it. And you want it to prove until the dough it won't double in size, but it will definitely be a lot bigger than what you started with. And you're gonna need about up to 2 hours. Mine took just over 1 hour to prove, and you really want to put it in a warm place, and that's going to help with the proving process. It's going to fast track it. So you just want to cover that bowl and let it prove, and then I'll show you what it should look like. So this is what the dough looks like. As I said, it took just over an hour, and you can see that I wouldn't say it's doubled in size, but it's definitely increased in size by quite a bit. So I'm going to remove that wrap, and then I'm just going to just use my finger just to press it to make sure that it's nice and springy, just how I like it, and then I'm just going to remove it. So the next thing we need to do is to put that dough on parchment paper. You shouldn't need any flour, because your dough should not be extremely sticky if you've done it the way that I've instructed you to. So I'm using a pizza cutter. You can use a knife if you want to cut it. Now I'm not kneading it just yet, so it does have some air in it, and I'm just going to show you guys how I'm going to cut it. First of all, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do it in 8 or whether I did it in 6, so I start off by cutting it in 4, and then I cut it, I believe I end up cutting it in to 6, and then I think no, maybe I should do 8. So you don't see it on camera, but I do end up cutting it in to 6. So what I did is I cut it into 6 equal parts, and I also weighed it, but I didn't do that on camera. So you can weigh to make sure that you get 6 parts. You might want 4 parts instead if you want big cocoa bread, but I think that 6 gives you the results that you will see at the end of the recipe. And in terms of the weight, it was I believe it was about 128 or 130 grams each, so you want to take that into consideration. So 8 is going to make small cocoa bread, 6 is going to make what's in the video, and 4 is going to make bigger. So just do what you feel is best. So I have one of the pieces of dough, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knead it, and then I'm going to roll it into a ball. Because the dough was not kneaded before, it's very important that you knead it first of all before forming it into a ball to release some of that air. You shouldn't need any flour. As you can see there, it's not sticking to my hands, and it's perfectly manageable. And once you form that dough ball, you're going to do the rest, and I'm then going to show you what all of them should look like. So this is what our 6 dough balls look like. They're nice and springy, they're not hard, they're not floury, they're quite smooth, and that's what they should be like. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to roll out that dough ball that we have there. So again, you can see that I don't have any flour. I haven't used any flour, and you shouldn't need any flour if you followed my instructions, because the dough shouldn't be sticky, but it is on the softer side. So when I roll it out, I typically roll it out like an oval shape. That's the shape that I go for. And in terms of the diameter, I believe it's about 7 inches or so for the diameter. So you want to go for something like that type of shape. And once you roll out the dough, we're going to get some melted butter and a pastry brush, and we're going to just apply some of that to the top of the oval shape that we've created, and then we're going to fold it into a half moon, and then we're going to apply some more melted butter. When you're folding it into the half moon, you want to be careful as well, because like I said, it is soft dough, but it's definitely manageable dough as well. So I'm going to show you just one on camera, and then I'll show you what the rest of them look like. I baked mine in batches, by the way, because my baking tray was quite small, but you can end up rolling them all out if you have a sizable baking tray. So as you can see, I have 3 cocoa bread on a baking tray, and I'm going to bake it for about 12 to 14 minutes. So this is what the cocoa bread looks like straight out of the oven. The only thing you need to do now is to glaze it one final time with some melted dairy-free butter, but that is how the cocoa bread looks, and that is gluten bread cocoa bread for you. So guys, that's how you make gluten-free cocoa bread. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe.